Thank you so much for
Oh, yeah.
joining me today. Like,
Dude,
how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Excited to release the album in like a month, a little less than a month now.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, mate.
Yeah, coming up real soon.
Yeah, there you go. How's the whole experience been? Because the reaction to the singles has been terrific. Like, the production quality on the album itself is, absolutely killer. Like, how's the camp feel? How's the whole band feel?
I think we're really, really happy. I'd say this album is probably what, at least for me, what I wish we sounded like all the time, like from the start.
That's a cool thing. At least you got there. Like, it's one of those things you evolve. You evolve into what you want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be at the end of the day. Because it's different because it's such a huge landscape of this extreme metal and deathcore and whatever you want to call it. I think you need to evolve because it's become, dare I say, popular. Like, how's that been?
yeah,
Because you guys have been around for a couple of years now. You've really been here watching the growth of, it blowing up on TikTok and it's everywhere. That people are getting interviews, like people like Ramos, Alex Terrible.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
like social media influencers at this point. How's it kind of
Yeah.
reflected you being in the scene, watching it all grow and be able to tour the world, doing a style of music that no one ever thought would get, airplay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been pretty cool to be a part of. Like, obviously, we aren't like the forerunners,
Mm.
but we definitely feel it. Just like what there's like the saying that when I can't remember the saying, but like it kind of like what's it called? Rising tide raises all ships,
Yes, yes.
and we've definitely felt that. Like when like Lorna Shore had that big boom, we were on like our first run of the UK was with them,
Yep.
and that helped us massively. It's just wild to see how this very extreme take on metal all of a sudden has found like almost mainstream acceptance.
Mm.
We'll see like at the shows now, we'll see so many different people that I wouldn't see at a Deathcore show like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, the same when I go to these deathcore shows. I literally, Lorna Shaw were just down here the other day, sold out venue, huge.
Yeah,
And I looked at the crowd and I'm like, there's people of all ages. There's people that you wouldn't even think are listening to metal
yeah,
in the mosh pit right up the front, doing all the crowd surfing. You go, I got to stop judging a book by its cover because I guess
yeah,
everyone is just kind of into this thing now, and it's a beautiful thing to see.
dude, it's awesome. Uh, I feel like every now and then I'll see people be kind of like mad about like calling it like all the TikTok kids coming out for the shows, but I'm like, it's such a good sign. It's
Yeah,
what we want. We want everybody involved. Like,
this is just how it is these days. There's no more like back because I'm an '80s kid growing up. You had the tape, whatever played on the radio or on MTV, or that's how you listen to music. The fact that we've got something like
yeah,
TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, where you can discover stuff like this,
yeah,
and people are like, "Oh, I like this," and people are like, "I really like this heavy shit, man," and it is great to
yeah,
see. It is absolutely great to see. But let's get into what you were mentioning before. You said with this new album, you've always wanted the band to sound like this. For people who haven't listened to the album yet, what exactly do you mean with that? Because I think I know what you mean about it, but I want to hear it from you first.
So I feel like it's a little bit more stripped down,
Mm,
without really like some of it. I'd say is like more simplistic, but it's still like we still use a lot of like weird sounds and soundscapes and
yeah,
stuff. I just feel like we've kind of like basically trimmed all the fat
yeah,
off, so it's like lean and mean now. Where I feel like on at least the first two records had a bit more of just excess stuff
yeah,
because we are kind of like trying to find out how to sound still
yeah,
and like finding ourselves in the process of making music. And now I'm like, it's for the first time in our career, I find it like, oh yeah, it's this is it now.
yeah,
We obviously still have stuff we can work on. It's like it's nothing's ever perfect in my opinion. There's always room for improvement.
yep.
But I'm like, okay, this feels like the direction now.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about it too. Because and I'm glad you said it. Nothing ever should be perfect either, because you've always got to find that room to grow and try new things. Because that's what keeps it interesting, especially in an extreme style of music. Because it would be very easy for all you bands to sound the same, and the fact that you can all stand out in different ways. Like I got to listen to the album today once through, and I
Oh
was
yeah,
like, there's almost some like dirty underground hip hop elements to this as well, which I'm
Yeah, yeah,
really digging. And it really kind of punches through and it makes a difference to the point my wife walked past, she didn't know what I was doing. And she's like, "Oh, who are these guys? This is awesome." I was like, "Yeah, no," I was like, "We've heard some stuff in the past. This is just the new stuff they've got out." She's like, "Oh, they're coming down soon." And I thought, well, I'll ask him in the interview. Hopefully, we can get you back to Australia soon. I know there's not
yeah,
just yet, but is that something on the cards with the new album? You're hoping to get back down here?
yeah. We would love to.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing we've it's just like Australia is it's a hard market. Like you can
Yeah.
play what like unless you're really really big and can do regional shows, you'll play maybe 5 shows on the tour,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the travel expenses are like really big.
Yes.
Uh, but it's an awesome market. Like the country is awesome. I really like Australian people as a rule. So you're so nice and like open.
We try our best, mate. We try and welcome everyone when they come down here because we know. I think after the pandemic, Australians realised, oh, if a band's coming down here, go out to the shows, go support them because they might not ever come back, and we can't afford to fly over to go see you guys. So our best hope is
Yeah,
to bring you guys here. So
yeah.
we try and be as accommodating as possible. And I'm glad you got the Aussie love when you were last down here as
Yeah,
well.
dude. It was sick. We were really, really happy to be there. It was kind of like a bucket list thing, just
Yeah,
also just to see Australia in general.
yeah,
Like the nature and everything is so vastly different from what we have back in Denmark.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Just a
completely,
touch, little bit different, like
uh,
almost a completely different planet.
dude, it is. It's like it's all. We were all a little bit scared of everything that kind of moved, just because we were like, "Oh shit, they actually have animals that you should be like worried about."
Yeah.
Back home, we don't have anything. Like, I think the worst thing that can happen is like a cow will gore you if you piss it up enough. I think that's
Oh,
it. Like
yeah. You
we
remind me of
have
an old
nothing.
friend. Yeah. Oh, I had an old friend from
Yeah,
Denmark. She was the same. She's like, Jai, I didn't understand almost everything here can kill me. I found a spider in my shoe this morning. I Googled it. If that bit me, I've got 30 minutes to get to the hospital. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, you should get some bug spray.
yeah. It's we have nothing like that. Like no spot. I think if you're very, very unlucky, some spiders can pierce the skin here, but that's like so rare, and
Oh,
they're not
wow.
poisonous.
They're living on the dream
So,
over there. Oh, you got
dude,
it easy. Got it easy.
yeah, I remember being when I was a kid. I just like see a spider, pick it up, be like, "Oh, what's this?" Okay, put it
Yeah.
back. Like,
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't recommend doing that in Australia.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But mate, let's go back to the album bit as well, because you mentioned you
Yeah,
like how it's sounding, everything. How was the writing process for this one? Was it a long one, or did you find this just kind of came together really well? Because listening to the album, everything flowed really well as well. Because like, you listen to some bands and you get like 10 songs and 9 songs sound awesome, and then there's one song that kind of feels off, and I'm always like, is that the record label song? Is that the one they really wanted to be the radio single? But with this, I just kind
yeah,
of felt it flowed brilliantly from start to finish, and a lot of guest appearance on this one as well. How was that
yeah,
whole
yeah.
process? Yeah.
I think like it's kind of like the same writing process we've always had. Like,
Mm.
so our main songwriter is a guy called Chris,
Yep.
he started the band back in the day. But it's kind of funny that now he doesn't tour anymore because he's like a full-time producer, so he's always booked ahead.
Yep.
And he's like a dad for the second time now, has 2 small kids. So, but me and him will write all of the music.
Yep.
I think one of the main differences on this album is that I've always been like writing the lyrics and like the vocal patterns and stuff, but this time I've been very more involved with like writing the instrumentals.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been the annoying guy. I can't really play guitar for shit, but I'll be like sitting next to him in the studio and be like, "Hey, make this guitar go boom boom," mouthing parts and shit.
Oh, mate, I thought you've made me feel better because I used to be in a band with my brother back in the day, brewing guitar. So I'd be like, nah, dude, like that because I could not
Yeah,
play at all. Could not play at all. I was just the vocal guy. I was like, no, you're the one with the talent. I got to do the rah rahs. You just try and
yeah.
do what I'm doing. And I'm glad someone else has said it. No one else has ever
Dude,
said it
that's
to me.
I do that so much. Sometimes I send voice memos of this breakdown. It's gonna go bam bam dum dum bam.
Oh, good. You've made my year. You've made my year. I'm glad. I'm going to have to show him this interview. I was like, watch that.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. So
No. And then Chris has to be fucking has to sit there and decipher what I actually mean. But we're writing. So this is like our fourth album writing
Yeah.
together. So I don't think I've made as much music with any other person.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're also at a point now where he actually gets what I mean when I'm like being the idiot mouthing guitar sounds.
Yeah. Well, we're speaking about sounds and mouthing and making sounds and everything, because you've got a very distinct voice as well. It's a very powerful voice. How do you find your scream? I ask this question a lot, and a lot of people have told me different ways. How did you learn to do this vocal technique?
It took a while for me, to be fair. Like I started out when I was 16. I was at a boarding school. Me and my friends wanted to play like a metalcore band, kind of like Parkway Drive. That was like the main inspiration.
Yeah.
And at first, I used to play guitar back in the day, and then we started that. But at that point, I could play like a few Hatebreed songs, which was like mostly just power chords and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we wanted to do a metalcore band, and like we had another guitarist who was really really good, and those kind of like guitar riffs. I was like, oh fuck no, I'm never learning this. So I was like, I'll try yelling into a microphone instead. And so I did, and it took me a handful of years where I fucking sucked. Like I was burning out my voice like every fucking show.
Yeah.
And then I think what really clicked for me was starting to do warm-ups.
Oh, okay. Yep.
That was a game changer for me, just also because I think it allowed me to kind of like feel my voice some more and to be like, okay, if I add this amount of pressure, what does that feel like? And kind of so I don't think I really got consistently decent at doing vocals until we started Cabal, when I started being like, okay, I need to maybe do some research about how the voice works and how to kind of like activate it without just going like 0 to 100 and burning out like so like a lot of practice and kind of like reading up a little bit on how it actually works made a huge difference for me. Like I used to struggle having to do 2 to 3 shows in a row.
Yep.
Now I can do fucking 30 something shows in a row, and like I'll be tired by the end. I can feel a little bit of strain, but I'm pretty good. Like
it's an amazing muscle, and it's funny that you said, because I've done some reading up on it a bit more recently, because back in the day I was in the bands and I did just kind of yell, and some days have no voice, and I'm looking into the science of it now. It's like, they're like, you hear about the fries and false chords. Back when I first started learning, no one knew what a false chord was. Like, what do you mean false chord? Like,
just fucking yell.
Yeah, exactly. Yell until it sounds good. Like that was the whole method back in the day. But no, it's good to hear that. So, do you still do a lot of warm ups now, or are you finding, because you've been doing it for so long, you can get through it a bit quicker, or how's your process work?
I still do warm ups, like just because it helps me get the voice ready. I feel like I can do less now because I feel like I found my sweet spot, or like the technique that works for me, which I've done so much now that it's pretty easy for me to kind of like activate it.
Yeah.
But I still try to do the warm ups and be kind of like mindful, just because I want to keep doing this long time. Also, when we're on tour, like, okay, we still have 25 shows to go, so be careful and stuff like that. Like, so I sometimes I don't know if I need to do it, but I will do it just out of like habit and just to make sure I don't blow up my voice, because if you do that on a tour, it's awful.
Yeah, it's not like a guitarist where you can go change the guitar strings or get a new guitar.
Nope.
Once the voice is gone, the voice is gone. Not a lot you can do after that, really.
Yeah, and then you just gotta play the show anyways, because if you don't, nobody's getting paid.
Yeah, that's it. And with the screaming, and we'll go back to the album in a sec, I've got one more question for you about it. Did you find it difficult, or is it something that you've changed from recording your screams versus them live? Because I've heard different people talk about, when I'm up there in the moment, especially in the early days, you kind of just feel it, stuff comes out. But when you're sitting there with your headphones on and you got to record a screaming vocal, the technique's almost different, or you're getting in your own head going, because there's not this, microphone and crowd and everything, the energy feels different. It's a bit of doubting, some people have told me. I'm not sure. Maybe you're completely different. You're like, no, it's just super easy. I'm just generally curious about that.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the same for me. Like obviously, like when we're in like the studio, I will like focus more on the details.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a live setting, you can get away with some shit where you're like, uh, where it doesn't like where the energy kind of carries it.
Yeah.
And if there's one word that sounds a little like muddied or whatever, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, who cares?
But in the studio, we'll be nitpicky. We'll be like, can you actually in this sentence, this word sounds a little mumbled. Can you go back and punch that in and make sure it gets the right enunciation and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. It is a big difference. So you can get away with a lot. You can even forget lyrics sometimes in this genre. Where just
Dude, I've done that where I
oh,
just go.
oh god, yeah. You used to do it all the time. It's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
But with the new album, what are you excited for people to hear? You've got 4 singles out now. Is there anything sitting on the album that you're personally in love with and you're like, I cannot wait for people to hear this and I cannot wait to play this live in front of people to hear?
Yeah, there's like a few things. I think the title track is one of my favorite tracks on the record.
Yep.
I think it's track 3 or something like that.
Yeah, I could tell you in a second what track it was exactly. It was track 3. Yes, track 3. Yes, correct.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorites. I'm also really excited for people to hear the song called Snake Tongues and play that live, just because there's like a weird part in it where I'm like, I wonder how people are gonna react to this.
And that's always the fun part too, especially people who, if you're opening on tour. I always like discovering bands live for the first time. Like, yeah, it happens all the time. And you get a song, and like you've said, people be like, a weird part happens, and you're getting into the band, but you're like, what? What was that? What was that? And I get what you're talking about with that. It's a lot of fun. It's almost you're tricking people or getting them out of it's a false sense of security. You're like, okay, I get what's going on here. Then something completely rips them out of it, and you're like, oh, I like this. I like these guys. It's a good little thing.
Yeah. We try to always like sprinkle parts like that around like every record. We'll have some song or something where people will be like, huh? What happened here?
Hey, it's good. You got to do it, man. And I love the band doing that as well. I'm glad you guys do it as well. It's a lot of fun. You could just be like A to B, but where's the fun in that? You got to have a little bit of weird in there or something unexpected.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, just try. It's also fun to experiment. Like I love trying out new, like stretching. Like we obviously have like a core sound, like core elements that make us. But then it's always just fun to kind of like see, okay, what if we push it in this direction? How will it sound like? How what? And also like how far can we push it without it going like off the deep end?
Well, you never know. I was about to say, are you going to do a Whitechapel one day and then just release a bunch of clean songs with no screaming at all in it and really confuse people?
I'm not a good enough singer for that. But unpopular opinion, I really actually liked that version of Whitechapel. It's
my favorite Whitechapel album. Honestly, it is. I listen to it.
It's really good
every week on it since it's been out. Like I've played that thing to death. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's really fucking great. Like I think I like the OG sound. Like I'm This Is Exile kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I just feel like they did the other stuff. I'm like, they're actually really good at it. Like.
Yeah. No, and it works. It works. And I won't say too much about it, but if you like This Is Exile, the new album that's out in a couple of weeks, I think you're going to like that one as well.
Oh, dude, all the singles on that has been so fucking sick.
Yeah, I think you're going to be surprised. There's some cool stuff on there and some stuff I wasn't expecting, but it's evil. It's evil. They've gone
dude,
on that
one. Like the Hymns of Dissonance single.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it's so. Phil Boseman is like one of the best out there.
Yeah, he's one of those ones that kind of carried the torch for a long time. And I think it's good to see because a lot of times, and you being a younger band and a newer band as well, people forget when like it takes off the popularity, like the Will Ramos and everything with Lorna Shore. People forget the bands that kind of started this whole thing. But I kind of feel like with Whitechapel and especially Phil and coming back with A Visceral Wretch and Hymn of Dissonance, people are like, yeah, these were the OG guys who kind of created this. And I almost felt like they took
Uh,
it personally and being like, okay, we're going to put the clean stuff, the kin stuff away. Let's show
yeah,
everyone like kind of who
how it's
we
done.
are. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
I really feel he's done that on this one. So you got to enjoy it.
yeah,
It's good. It's good to that people can respect deathcore and everything from where it started up until now, because it's a lot of fun what you guys are doing now. And it makes tours very interesting because all of you sound just that little bit different to the point it keeps
yeah.
it fresh. Do you find that's important when out on tour as well, to make sure your set list really makes you stand out amongst all the other bands playing? Is that something you ever think about, or are you just like, no, we're going out there with a Cabal show, we're just going to kill it?
I think we're very mindful of it when writing, actually.
Mm,
Like, so when we started out, like we had way more like blackened influences.
yep.
I'm not gonna like do my our own horn too much, but I feel like we were one of the earlier like blackened deathcore bands.
Yeah.
Because we started doing it in fucking 2016, when it wasn't really this widespread thing yet.
Yeah.
Just because like the whole idea when we started out the band was like to draw from like kind of our cultural roots, which is like Scandinavia and like second wave of black metal, which is what people mostly know as black metal, was kind of
Yep.
like from here. So we're like, oh, let's kind of. At that point, I was like, I haven't heard anybody mixing like down tempo deathcore with this kind of stuff yet.
Yeah.
Let's try doing that, and also like draw from the aesthetic. And then obviously once like Lorna Shore, they did the Hellfire, and that blew up. Everybody started doing that, like, and so we were really like, oh, okay, let's actually try to do something else with our sound because everybody's gonna try to be Lorna now, and there's only one Lorna. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a smart
so
thing to do too. At the same time,
yeah,
even if you were one of the first people to do it, and people can go back and the evidence is there. It's on those earlier albums.
yeah,
But it is cool. And I guess was it kind of refreshing to be like, all right, let's change it up and see. Well, like you said, the band you are on this album is kind of what you wish you were back in the time. So
yeah,
everyone doing this Blackened Sound, was that kind of like a blessing for you to actually get out of your comfort zone and kind of turn into the band you are now?
yeah. I think so, and also. I grew up in like the hardcore and punk scene. Like
Yeah.
my hometown was like one of the few cities in Denmark that had a really strong like hardcore scene, especially for like the more violent kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've always had like a special place in my heart for like really aggressive hardcore.
Yeah.
So I think that shines through on this record a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's more like abrasive in some sort. Like obviously the other stuff was like evil and heavy, but I feel like now it's just more like ferocious and like
That's a good word for it, actually, because
yeah, yeah,
I didn't want to say the word like aggressive because it kind of is, but ferocious. That is the
yeah.
perfect word to describe this record.
It's a bit more unhinged in some way,
Yeah,
like so. Yeah, yeah, that just felt really nice to do. Like I've always been pushing kind of like hard like that, so we've always had
yeah,
stuff like that on it, like most songs and stuff. But this time it's kind of like way more one of the main components.
yeah. No, that's it made a big difference. And like I said, and you've got that, like I said, that kind of dirty underground hip hop element to it a little bit as well, which
Yeah,
really kind of punches through. I think the album's great, and I think in and out this year, 2025, there are a lot of deathcore albums coming out. Paleface Swiss has already released
oh
theirs. You
yeah,
got Whitechapel coming up. You got you guys. I'm sure Breeder
yeah,
Sacrifice. All these bands are going to be releasing. I think you've truly released an album here that is going to stand out when everyone goes, what were the best deathcore releases of 2025? I think
oh
Cabal
yeah,
is going to be up there because it really does stand out. And unfortunately, or fortunately for my neighbor, I was sitting there earlier today trying to put it on, and I'm turning my headphones up going, why can't I hear anything? And then I heard a rumbling from the other room. I was connected to the speaker that points outside at full volume in the middle of the day, and I could see people out there like, what is going on? I'm like, oh, all right, and turn down, connect to the headset. But everyone got a little bit of a preview, even though they weren't meant to.
oh yeah,
Everyone on my block got a bit of a preview today. So I thought I'd share that with you because that gave me a little bit of a smile.
yeah, yeah. I I doubt your neighbors like it as much as you do.
I
But
doubt it too.
yeah, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I liked it. My wife liked it. And I think a lot of people are going to like it, mate. I'd say be very proud of the work you've done here. I think this is going to be, when you go out and more albums start coming up, people are going to come back to this album and go, we want songs played live. We want this. So I think this is going to be a real defining moment in your guys' career. I think you should be very proud of it.
Appreciate it, man. We're very happy about it. Like, but I feel like it's the thing. Every time we make a new record, that's always my favorite. And I think once it stopped being that, you might have to reconsider if you want to keep doing like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because then you just get to the point of, we need to put an album out to tour, and there are bands that do that, and I think it's
fair enough, but
yeah. I think it was a good example of Godsmack, that American band years ago. They're like, right, we're not putting out any more new albums. I know we just put out new albums tour. We're a legacy band. We're just going to play the hits because you guys aren't interested in the new music. And I thought, wow, if you're saying that, sounds like you weren't really interested in writing the new music either. And I think it shows.
Yeah.
It
must also kind of like, I mean, it's kind of a privileged position to be in, that you can just be like, yeah, okay, we don't need to put out new music because we already have these songs that people want to hear.
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword, because at the same time, it must also kind of suck being like, we can't really ever top anything we've done. Like,
yeah. I think that's the thing. You got to, like you're doing, you evolve, you add new elements in while keeping the core sound. It keeps it fresh. And some people are going to go, I really like we're talking about Whitechapel, really like Kin, but I really like This Is Exile as well. So it doesn't really matter. You can have different flavors from the same band, and it makes it stand out. And I think that's important because it keeps it fresh. And you as an artist, it's got to be fun to write different stuff. Like, you could write the same stuff all the time. It gets a bit boring.
Yeah, I don't ever want to do the same record twice.
Yeah.
Because again, that's just gotta be not fun. Like, for us to like, gotta be selfish about it. Be like, I'm not gonna have fun doing that. Like,
and that's important, and it's good to be honest with you. And I think people know these days. I think back in the day when some of the old bands, they're like, oh no, we really like the new thing. I think there's a more open end modesty with all you guys and the bands coming out these days. So they're like, no, man, we're just going to try some new stuff and see how it goes. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, but I can tell if you yourself like what you're doing, people are normally going to like it because they can hear the passion in it, and that's the main thing.
I think that shines through when you can hear people kind of like having fun doing it.
Yes, 100%.
And I think one of the fun parts, at least for like with Cabal, is like when we go into writing the next album, we're like, okay, what are we gonna do different this time? How are we gonna like evolve?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like a fun little puzzle to try to like solve.
It keeps you on your toes. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it exciting. And like I said, and it shows. But mate, I didn't realize we've been talking for half an hour now. I better let you go. But is there anything you wanted to say to the fans out there, especially some of the Aussie fans who might want you back down here one day? We might get you back down here on, maybe we'll get you on a regional tour with like a Make Them Suffer or an Alpha Wolf. Some of our Aussie boys take you around the country.
Dude, I'd fucking love that. Listen to the music, if you like it, tell your friends, and we'll appreciate it forever.
And do what I did and just point the speaker out the window and blast someone walks past and goes, I like that. What's that?
Force all your neighbors to listen to it.
That'd be a good title for an album. But anyway, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. The album is out in April. There will be pre-order links below. Cheers, dude. You have a great one. Enjoy your day. Have another coffee.
You too, man.
Thanks.
I will. Have a good one. Bye.